Hello, friends. Welcome to Ray and Benny Talk Sports. Do us a favor, smash that subscribe button. It helps get the word out. It helps grow the channel. Benny, where can they find us on social media?
Yeah, for sure. You can find us, Ray Benny Sports. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and of course, Ray's favorite, TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah. Don't forget to be interactive. Leave a comment. Leave a like. We have some good stuff to talk about. Only a couple leagues really going on right now for us. NBA is going on, but whatever. We'll deal with them in the playoffs, maybe. We got the NHL and the NFL is in high gear in their playoffs going into the conference finals next week. But let's start off with the Winnipeg Jets and the NHL. Last week, the Winnipeg Jets had a 500 week, started off a bit shaky with consecutive 4-1 losses, and then they went back-to-back with 5-goal performances against Ottawa and Philly. Would you say anything went wrong? Are there any concerns after last week or after the action of last week?
Yeah, you know what? If you would ask me this when they played Montreal on Tuesday or even on Wednesday, I probably would have had a list of things that went wrong. But, you know, the Toronto game happened, and it was, again, an identical score of 4-1. But, you know what? They played so much better in that Toronto game, and Samsonov kind of held that game in for Toronto. Yeah. A couple turnovers or a couple mistakes and turnovers. Scheifele, you know, some weak defending on Austin Matthews, you know, leaving him open for 2 goals and even a third one that he just missed, you know, the hat trick, and he would have scored 3 in a matter of 10 minutes. Yeah. But yeah, the Montreal game was a little concerning, just their effort, you know, and we kind of talked about it last week. Every time they go into Montreal, and it's, I don't know if it's looking beyond Montreal to that Toronto game that everyone is talking about, the country was talking about. It was all hyped up, right? Who's the best team in Canada?
Yeah.
And that was a game for it. So I don't know if they look beyond it. The effort wasn't good. A lot of mistakes in Montreal. You know, it was a poor effort coming off that 5-game winning streak, right?
Yeah.
So
Montreal's playing scrappy hockey, though. They just beat Toronto as well.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have Caulfield, I think, is he gone for the season?
He's gone for the season now.
Yeah, so they don't have, but they play scrappy and they beat Toronto. So they're not one to be overlooked. And maybe you're right. Maybe the Jets did overlook them. I'm going to backtrack on a statement from our report card of the Winnipeg Jets and say I was concerned. Well, not that I was concerned. I was just less impressed with Rittich than Brossois. And I think slowly Rittich is winning me over, you know, game by game. He's 8-4 now.
Yeah.
Kept the Jets in that game, even though they fell apart a little bit. And it was on a back-to-back. So the team wasn't at its freshest. So good on him.
Props he's actually done. He had a few shakier games at the start of the season, and he's hit and miss on some goals. But for the most part, he's played pretty well. And it seems like when he's in net, sometimes the Jets play even worse on D. You know, and when you do that with Hellebuck, you know, Hellebuck's the star goaltender. He's the Vezina goaltender. He can save your butt. Rittich is not going to necessarily save your butt the same way as Helly, right? So he'll let those goals in, and then you got to kind of claw your way back. Even against Philly, you know, they go up 3-0. You know, and they slowly let the Flyers back in this game. And it wasn't Rittich's fault. You know, one was a 2-on-1 where I think it was Schmidt lied down from the blue line down. It's like, what are you doing, buddy? Yeah. So, and then good old Kevin Hayes scored too. Good old fourth line Kevin Hayes.
I loved Kevin Hayes when he was there. That was one of my boys. Hey, that was one of my boys.
Fourth line, whatever.
He'd be great on the fourth line right now. He'd be
good on the third line.
We talk about concerns. My concern is still defense.
Yeah.
Especially in that Philly game. The first 2 games, they didn't look very good. Then Ottawa's Ottawa. But again, in Philly, they had their lapses defensively. And people talk about, you know, I'll creep in some trade talk here, trade deadline, March 3rd coming up. You know, Bo Horvat always comes up. Vancouver is selling. They need another center. But I think they also got to look for a D lineman.
A D lineman.
Demon. I'm excited to talk about football. They need someone on defense. I think other than their 2, maybe 3 defense, they're weak. I'd love to see them long term bring in someone like Chychrun. We're talking about senators and stuff like that, but he'd be great. 24-year-old, still got a couple years left on a fairly good deal, under $5 million, and maybe as a rental Klingberg for this year. He's not as good defensively, but he can put some offensive push. I don't know what you think about the upcoming trade deadline in the Winnipeg Jets and what they should do, but I think they should be looking D. And people say, they should be looking because they have teams like Edmonton and Calgary. But you know what? If they had better D, then they wouldn't have to worry about piling up goals to keep up with teams like that.
Yeah, I could see. I mean, Morrissey's had a great season. Pionk has been hit and miss. Dylan's been fairly steady. Schmidt's kind of, again, hit and miss. DeMello's been steady with Morrissey together.
Yeah.
Then we got our whipping boy, Heinola.
Back down.
I just want to
down. They sent him back down. Bro.
Yeah. No, he's still up, isn't he, right now?
I thought they sent him down with
what's his name? They sent him back down when Harkins had to come up with
and now he's back up again.
Then they switched it around again. Heinola played those 2 games last week, Montreal and Toronto, and just got absolutely destroyed on Twitter against Montreal. Just want to say a quick piece on that. Like, people need to chill on Heinola on both sides. Okay. I know I'm like, I want to see Heinola play, and all that stuff. And then I got to take a step back too. The guy's not quite there yet. He needs playing time, yes, but at the same time, he's making mistakes.
Yeah.
But Twitter against that Montreal game, holy crap, man. Everything was Heinola this, Heinola that. It's like, but it's not even just Twitter people. It's reporters too. Like, Heinola is going to go probably look up his name later on and see all this crap about him. And so this doesn't help young guys in Winnipeg if we're all just shitting on him all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, you got the guys in his corner. Like, he should be top 4. Well, he's not there yet either. Give the guy a chance. Let him develop and let him get there.
Yeah.
Slow down on both sides.
I think we've gone beyond that point, and I think they missed their opportunity to get the most of what they could for him. When there were rumblings that he kind of wanted out, I think that was probably their best chance to trade him and get something for him. And now I think they're really screwed because he's not looking good. And
he hasn't looked great this year either.
He doesn't have a market that loves him and doesn't support him. So that's going to make his feelings even more about wanting to get out of here. So
the thing is, he has a lot of Winnipeggers or analytics crew that love him here in Winnipeg, right? I want to see him play all the time, but he's got so many detractors. And I don't know, it's because he's got that analytics follower group that makes people on the other side hate him even more.
Doesn't help.
There's no middle ground. It's like Nick Patan or Niku. It's all these guys are just analytic darlings, but then they get killed from the other side. And as soon as they make a mistake, everyone wants to point it out, right? And it's just like, it's too much. Like, let the guy breathe. But if you're going to trade him, you probably got to pair him with even a first round pick to kind of maybe get a Chychrun, or I don't think Klingberg was worth that at all, but maybe Chychrun is. But and if it is Chychrun for Heinola in a first rounder, then hey, why not go for it? But
I think so. Well, then, before we talk about next week in the Jets, let's continue talking about trade situations. Is Jonathan Toews, constant name coming up in Winnipeg Jets trade talk? Do you think that he's what the Jets need to take that next step?
I think if it's what it's rumored, you can get him for either a second or a third, and especially if it's a third, then I'm in that trade, and I'd like him in that bottom 6, and I think he would fit in well to maybe play a bit of a shutdown role, a guy that can come in and take those faceoffs when needed. And he's still chipping in goals here and there this year. He's kind of bounced back in the points department. To me, though, I would rather go with a guy that could possibly fill in your top 6 somehow, or top 9, that could help that power play number 2, because that power play number 2 has been pretty weak.
Yeah.
Since the power play one is top heavy. So if you can go that way, I would rather go that, to the top 9 forward that can fill in and score. But if you can get Toews for a third, I think that would definitely help. He'd bring his leadership, he'd bring his experience. He's won cups, obviously. So
doesn't hurt that he's born and raised in Winnipeg. That's a story right there.
Yeah. If it's a third rounder, why not? Right.
Yeah,
because you never know. Yeah.
Without a doubt. Is that the asking price right now?
I had heard somewhere a second or third or something like that. So if you can get it for the third, hey, great. Because you know what, if you want to go for a Horvat or a Bosa or something, you're giving up a first, right? And more. So your first rounder this year, in which is supposed to be a pretty deep draft, is gone.
Yeah.
But if you can potentially sign Horvat beyond that, because Dubois is still out there, right? We don't know if he's going to sign. And you need those 1-2 punch at center with Scheifele and another guy. You can't let Dubois go and have nobody replace him. But if you can get a Horvat and trade a bunch for him, you can trade Dubois and get a bunch back, right?
You see Perfetti ever stepping into his second line center role?
I don't know if he's ever going to get that center role, just because of where he's been playing now on the wing and stuff like that. And I kind of like where he is developing on that wing. Second in points for rookie players. So he's growing and he's getting there. And once he can get those goals start going into the net for him a little bit more, those shots going in, he'll take a next step as well. So
he's naturally a center though, right?
He was drafted as a center. So
maybe.
we'll see if they give him a chance at that. He's still a smaller kind of guy, right? He's almost like Scheifele when Scheifele came in. Small
Just
body.
smaller.
Yeah.
Smaller.
He just doesn't fall on the ice all the time like Scheifele used to.
Yeah, but when he gets hit, he gets hurt
Bambi.
hard. Yes, he gets hurt hard. Let's keep talking about trade. Let's keep talking about trades. Let's celebrate Happy Trade Day. Dubois for Laine with a little bit of Roslovic sprinkled in there. Who's the winner of that trade short term? Who's the winner of that trade long term?
Long term, I don't. Short term, it didn't look like it was great for either team. Maybe Laine a little bit on the short term. Long term, I'm leaning towards the Jets now, and Dubois looks like the better player and a better all-around player. Dubois, when he plays, and for the most part, he's played like 80 to 90%, he's on his game. Toronto and Montreal, he wasn't the greatest, which has surprised me because those are usually the places he likes to perform, right?
Yeah.
But this year, when he wants to be dominant, he is dominant, right? He is a big body player. It's hard to get off the puck. He will ruffle some feathers as well and not give a crap what the other player think or the other team kind of thinks. So
absolutely.
Dubois for now.
Short term and long term, I say, well, actually, short term, I say Winnipeg. Just because he's on the ice way more consistently. Like you say, he's a presence, he plays center. Long term, Columbus has Laine for a few more years. We'll see if Winnipeg can lock Dubois up. Because Dubois is either going to be a building block for the future at center, or they got to trade him soon, man. They got a year of RFA and then they got to trade him.
Yeah, they got one more year. So, and then that year after this season is not going to come cheap either, right?
No, absolutely not.
And for Dubois, really after this year, you almost want to probably sign that long-term deal. So it's either getting a long-term deal done with the Jets or getting traded and getting a long-term deal, right? Because you never know what next year could bring. Next year could be half of this year, and then all of a sudden, you're looking at sign somewhere. But if the Jets are going to do anything, it's got to be this year. This is probably where you maximize out sometime in the summer for Dubois. Yeah. And it depends what they can get back for Dubois, to kind of offset the trade of Laine. Like Roslovic, when he got to Columbus that first year, he had a pretty wicked year, and it was like, holy crap, you basically give him away for nothing. But now he's kind of reverted back to being a nothing player almost, right?
On a lesser roster.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And he can't fill in that top line role that he was looking for, that second line role.
No, not at all.
And Laine has been hit and miss.
Well, he's been injured also.
Yeah, he's back now, but he hasn't been scoring like he used to in that first and that dynamic. But him and Boudreau must not have hit it off too well so far in Columbus.
No, not at all.
So
let's talk about the upcoming week for the Winnipeg Jets. 4 games left before they go on an 11-day All-Star break. We talked about this matchup tomorrow night with the Predators last week. Again, a rival, pretty much due to that playoff series that was created. Remember that team in Nashville?
Oh, yeah.
Subban, Rene.
Yeah, Yossi. Yeah.
Ryan Ellis.
Oh, that was a tough team, man.
Forsberg. Kevin Fiala was on that team.
Yeah, Duchesne would have been there at that time. Or no, where did he come after?
Granlund.
Maybe he came after, but that was a tough team, man. That was a tough team. And and Winnipeg was a tough team too. It's not like they were backing down or anything to
Bufflin, a young Trouba, or was that the
young?
Yes, a young Trouba.
Trouba.
They had Myers.
Sherratt, Myers.
Oh, that was a fun series to watch. Anyways, they're playing them. It will still be a physical series, but I think they'll take the Predators.
Yeah, they should. Preds are 6-4 in the last 10 and clawing. They're trying to claw their way into a playoff picture. So
yeah,
a big game for Nashville. They need to kind of win that one. Hopefully the Jets can finish off this road trip on a high note and finish at 3-2 to end it. Not a bad swing through the East Coast if you can finish 3-2.
No. Yeah, the Predators have won the last 3 out of 4.
So it'll be a tough one. It won't be easy in Nashville.
And then we finish at home. They finish at home with the Sabres, Flyers again, and the Blues again. I can see them sweeping that. I'd like to see them sweep that.
Yeah, those are all winnable games. They're all at home. Each of those teams are kind of same thing, like 6-4 in their last 10. Philly has actually been playing better since Christmas. Going back to the road game. Did you know that they hadn't won in Philly since 2012?
I did know that.
10 losses, 11 years since you won in Philly of all places. Like that's crazy.
That's a long time, man.
Yeah, that's to me that's nuts. And to not win somewhere like that. I know even in Pittsburgh, they hadn't won in Pittsburgh in a long time too when they won earlier this year. But
how many games in a row? Like between 9 and 12?
In Philly?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
that
10.
Duration of those years, 10 games.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
And I think one of them was lost in overtime or whatever. So,
well, that streak is no longer.
And it's not like okay, you can go Pittsburgh. Okay, they've had some pretty good teams, so you don't win in Pittsburgh a while. But Philly, they haven't had really good teams over the last 10 years. Like, how do you not win there? But it is what it is. But yeah, going back to this week, Buffalo, Philly, Blues. I expect them to win all those.
Absolutely.
But again, the Jets when they seem to play, the Jets seem like a team that they need to play 100%. That system needs to be played 100%, and they need to give their all in games probably to win them. And when they have a down game, we get what we had in Montreal, Detroit, that kind of stuff. So
yeah, they're not Colorado.
No. Yeah. If they can play their game, they'll beat these guys, no problem. There's probably going to be a downer in there, especially maybe the Blues, because then you're looking at almost 2 weeks off, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking ahead to vacation. So you're like, whatever, we'll just get this game over with. So
we'll see how it goes. I expect a sweep. Let's go to the West Coast. Let's talk about Bruce. There it is. That horrible situation finally today being ended. The throat has been cut. Rick Tocchet taken over for Bruce Boudreau. Jim Rutherford. What a clown. And this guy's been a GM for a successful and respected GM for a long time. The way he treated Boudreau, his so-called friend, is trash. This is trash.
Yeah, terrible situation. Like, how do you even do that? How does a professional sports team even do that? Like, and really, what's Tocchet going to do? The guy's never really won anywhere he's coached.
He's horrible.
And now he's going to come in and he's going to fix the Canucks. No, it's a entire fire. What I don't even know what the words are.
Tire fire, garbage fire.
Yeah. It's like a gong show. And now this guy's going to come in when you got players who don't even want to be there at this point. Yeah. You got a Horvat who already wants out. Boser probably wants out. You got Quinn Hughes who questioned the medical team or how they handled Tanner Pearson's injury.
They did.
So, and Rutherford, man. For me, Rutherford, after his Pittsburgh stuff, man, go out on a high note. Retire. End your career there. You would have been regarded as a guy who got Crosby and Malkin to 3 more cups? Was it 2? I don't know what it is, but end on a high note. And now you do this to a guy that's supposed to be your friend.
It was a Tanner Pearson press conference where it actually came out, and this is in January. This is more than January, early January, like last week, right? Where he admitted, for a couple months now, that he has been phoning around, checking out availabilities of coaches. So since November, he's been doing this? What a clown show. Ugh. And now he's gonna say, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Oh yeah, thanks.
Get out of here. And then like you said, he signs Tocchet. Like this guy, let's go to the stat line: 178, 260. He's been to the playoff once, and that was on the bubble. So, and this guy's old school hockey culture.
And you're paying him more than you did Boudreau.
What a clown show.
They're paying Travis Green still. Now they're paying Boudreau. And you hadn't paid Tocchet more than what you ended up giving Boudreau's contract. Like, how?
Yeah. Hey, look, hockey culture wants to change, but let's bring back the guy who was guilty of being in a gambling ring.
Yeah.
And let's bring in a guy who smuggled $18,000 in cash over the border without claiming it. That's the kind of character that you need to change hockey culture.
That's not going to change nothing. Vancouver's a mess. All their contracts are a mess. They got Oliver Ekman-Larsson making $7 million or whatever it is for the next 5-6 years. And then you traded a guy like Dylan Gauthier, who was impressive for Canada at the World Juniors, to get Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and now he's doing pretty good in Arizona. I know this wasn't Rutherford or is before Rutherford's time, but that whole Vancouver organization for the last 10 years has been a mess. Bringing in guys, firing guys, and it's not going to get any better. And it's like, why are these guys going to want to sign there?
You think these young guys are going to listen to Tocchet?
No, they don't want to be there anymore. I feel for Elias Pettersson, man.
They were loyal to Boudreau. They're not going to play for Tocchet. Give me a break.
No.
What a gong show going on there in Vancouver.
I really hope they don't even get Bedard. As much as I wouldn't mind seeing him on a Canadian team or not in Arizona kind of thing, I don't even want him to go there.
He's got to pull a Eli Manning. He's got to say, nope, I'm not going to sign. Forget it. I will not
trade me somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't know if an Eric Lindros. What am I talking about?
There you go.
He's got to pull an Eric Lindros. Never. Don't go there.
For sure.
Quick question for you. The Edmonton Oilers are on a 6-game winning streak. Is this their true identity, or is this like a big-time tease for the folks in Edmonton?
No, I'm going to still call it a tease. I mean, Jack Campbell is playing better, so that's definitely helping them. But they've had swings where they're winning games, and I guess maybe the high of Evander Kane coming back has helped quite a bit.
Yeah.
But they've slowly reverted always back to what they were, and it's almost like a mediocre middle of the pack team, which is unfortunate when you have two guys like McDavid and Draisaitl, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if one of those two guys got hurt, then what?
Oh, yo. I'm going to play totally on the fence on this one. I'm very much going to play on tippy toe on the fence. They beaten Anaheim, San Jose in this 6-game streak. Anaheim, San Jose, Vegas, Seattle, Tampa Bay, and then Vancouver. A mix more of yuck and then meh.
Yeah, so you got 3 teams that are decent or good in there. I mean, Vegas is on a little bit of a downward spiral, and then Tampa and Seattle. But the other 3 are not impressive.
No, so they haven't been playing good teams. On the other hand, yes, they've reverted a little back to McDavid and Draisaitl, but also Hyman and Nugent Hopkins are having career years. Both are in top 15 scoring. And like you said, Evander Kane coming back has given them a gritty boost. And same as Costin has given them a bit of a gritty boost. And this other kid, another guy, what's his name? Ryan McLeod. He's also been playing well for them. So they are getting a little bit of support from there. So who knows? I'm still on the fence. So I'm going to say it's not a major tease, a tiny tease.
We even when we talked about last week when we did our power rankings, like we mentioned that Nuge and Hyman, they're all over a point per game. And we wondered how a team that had 4 guys like that could be losing so much. And it still goes back to the defense. Nurse, Barry, whoever it is back there, it's not a great core.
No.
So you need your goalie to be standing on his head, right? And Skinner was doing that earlier in the season while Campbell was kind of suffering, and now Campbell's getting it a bit more and playing better. But can he keep that up? So
if Stuart Skinner comes up with a big save, do they say Stu?
I don't know.
Edmonton fans, that's a question for you. If anyone's listening or watching in Edmonton, do you chant Stu when Stuart Skinner makes a big save? Before we move on to NFL football, one more thing in the NHL. Your boy Paul Maurice getting fined $25,000 for criticizing the officials. Warranted? Have you heard this guy's comments? Yes? Yeah. No?
It's warranted because you really can't say anything about the refs anyways, and he went on a tangent.
I hate that rule. I hate that rule. Why are refs beyond criticism?
Yeah, I guess if you do it behind closed doors and to the NHL head office or send a letter or send an email, I don't know what it is, but that's okay. But I don't mind it. Like, he's got $25,000 is nothing for him, really, right?
No, but the principle of it. Well, $25,000, that's still a lot of money.
Yeah, it still sucks, but I mean, the guy makes probably $3 million a year or more, right?
Like, that's like what, a mortgage payment and something else. That sucks. Yeah. And the thing is, he didn't say anything really bad. What do you say? I don't know what the hell those guys were doing tonight, but it wasn't Florida Panther friendly. Like, really? That's $25,000 fine worth? I don't know.
That's because his buddy was reffing St. Laurent. Like I don't even know why that guy is reffing any of his games or why the NHL still even does that. Like, you just know it's going to end poorly.
Is that the one where is that the guy who's reffing when with the Paul Maurice gif?
Yeah,
the F off.
He's the one who tossed him out too, right? Didn't he get tossed out one game? So it never ends well when that guy's reffing for Paul Maurice.
And I think he's being friendly about it. Like, the tone wasn't that disrespectful, but
yeah, he's probably doing that tone because he's like, maybe I'll get fined, maybe I won't. Let's see what happens, kind of thing.
But and he did.
He did.
And he did. Son of a gun. Gotta check in with Pomo.
Yeah, check in with him because his team's not doing too well.
What are they? 1 over 500?
Yeah, they lost tonight even to the Rangers.
They got them. Well, Rangers are a good team. They're making their push. Sturkin's waking up.
Yeah. He had a good start to the season. Or when did he good start or no? Yeah, Rangers have kind of been
start very well.
No, that's right. Rangers have been kind of below the playoff line a bit here and there, or hovering around it. Yeah. Just not as good as last year.
They need Shesterkin to play the same way.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He was so great last year. It didn't matter almost what the team was doing because he was stopping everything.
Well, they lost their grit and energy with Ryan Reeves, so just saying.
Good old Ryan Reeves.
Yeah, that's my boy. Let's go to the NFL.
Before we leave the NHL, quick mention: Johnny Gaudreau back in Calgary tonight.
Yeah.
Got a penalty shot
and
missed the net.
Welcome back.
Too good.
Now let's talk about the NFL playoffs. I said I'd leave this game for the last, but let's get it out of the way. Giants, Eagles, any thoughts?
Oh, God. The Giants, it just maybe goes to show how maybe bad the Vikings were. Not bad, but how they weren't 13-3 or 13-4, whatever they were, to lose to the Giants, because the Giants just got it basically embarrassed against the Eagles.
Yeah.
They just weren't good enough. They weren't and I know the Eagles is the best team in the NFC, but you go into a playoff game when you're in the final four of the conference, you should be able to compete somewhat in that game, right? And the Giants didn't.
So with the Giants going next season, Saquon Barkley is going to be an unrestricted free agent. And we know the value of running backs, how short their careers are. Are you investing money in this dude, or are you moving on and building around Danny Dimes?
But Danny Dimes is also a free agent. So you got to sign either one of them or you got to sign both of them.
You can't sign both.
That's the thing.
Well, I don't think they should. They could. I don't think they should.
Depends on the cost. Depends on the cost for both of these guys or one of these guys. Again, like running backs, you can only pay these guys so much. And if Barkley can do, say, even what CMC is doing for the Niners, then yeah, he's worth it. If that's and he was a good player and pretty good player and an integral part of the Giants this year, because the Giants really didn't have receivers. They didn't have any high marquee guys, receiver. So you do need to go find one of those guys too this offseason. So now you're possibly paying a high end receiver, Danny Dimes and Barkley.
Yeah.
If they had another running back there already that was kind of established, then maybe you can probably move on from Barkley. But I think you got to sign Barkley.
It's good that you mentioned CMC, because I think if you're going to give money to a running back like that, you have to be within a 2-3 year window to win a championship. And I don't think they are.
No.
I think the Giants need a lot more pieces. They played in the NFC East. I don't think the Vikings were that good. And I think the Eagles were far superior. That's their benchmark. So they're way off. They have so much work to do on defense and offense.
Yeah.
That Saquon, of course, yes, you'd love to have, but I don't think you can build around him for the next 5 years. He's already been hurt a lot. So I don't know.
Do you give him the contract and hope if you're not there in a couple years that you can trade him and get a bit like like Carolina did for CMC instead of losing him for a compensation or compensatory?
I can't say it.
Yeah. You guys know what I'm talking
about. A pick for compensation.
And at most you're getting a third rounder, right?
Yeah, it's tough to say. Yeah, that's what they got to think about because their season's over and the Eagles look good.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Buffalo and Diggs walking up the Buffalo, the Bills, in Buffalo. The Bills, I don't know, man. I think their window is closing, to be honest with you, if they don't find a running game soon, because they couldn't get anything going. And then that meant that they were under pressure and they couldn't get the ball to Diggs. And then he cried, his arms were in the air, and then he ran away.
That's the thing with Buffalo. You haven't had a running game in years now, right? And you do have a decent running back in Singletary. You drafted James Cook. And when Singletary's ran, he has been pretty decent. Like, he's been good, but they don't use him enough to get him in rhythm every week. And you're relying on Josh Allen's running. And you only really have Diggs, Gabe Davis, McKenzie. Like, some of those guys are just lower end wide receivers that they were hoping would take off.
Yeah.
So maybe you got to go out and find a complementary pick or a complementary player for Diggs. Another guy on the other side that you could rely on a little bit more. Something Josh Allen could throw. And then you got Dawson Knox to throw in there too, right? But that D was not good against the Bengals at all. And I know they faced a lot of injuries this year, but it wasn't good. Diggs, I get it. Diggs hates to lose. No one likes to lose. But you're now a veteran player. You've been in the league long enough. You got to set an example for the rest of the team. And you can't be walking out. Like, you need Duke Johnson to come back and get you. Like, you're leaving before the even coaches even come talk to you.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're saying, I hate losing. Well, big deal, man. No one likes losing.
Exactly. He's not a player that'll bring him to the next level.
No.
If I'm going to be honest with you. And if I think that they can get good players for him, fine. The Minnesota offense, they traded him, and they did drafted Justin Jefferson, and they didn't miss a beat. They got better. They got better. Yeah,
you got a better player in Justin Jefferson and more of a team player right now. You know, like McDermott came out and said he spoke with Diggs today. That's all. He'll leave it at that he spoke to him, and that's it. True. That's not a good it sucks you already lost your game, and then it's a bad note on top of it that your star player is pouting like that.
Trade him and fix your O-line. They want to talk about Allen being the best quarterback in the league, possibly other than Mahomes, whatever. No, fix your O-line, because you're not going to get beyond anywhere good in the playoffs if you don't have a good O-line.
No,
they're a bottom 5 O-line. Get out of here.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, we go talk about this game a little bit. Like, Cincinnati, 3 of their 5 original starters were out on the O-line.
Yeah.
So they adapted it. You know, a lot of quick throws for Burrow, like quick throws. Like, they didn't allow Buffalo's D-line to even get there, which Buffalo's D-line, again, with Von Miller out, wasn't what it was supposed to be this year, right? So they adapted to the game, whereas McDermott and Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator for the Bills, didn't really adapt to anything and help Allen out.
No.
So,
they need to get a better O-line, and they got to get rid of Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, it's another disappointing end to the season for the Bills, and the teams are just getting better. Cincinnati's getting better. Kansas City's always there, man.
You can find good day 1 receivers on day 2 and day 3 of the draft. Look at Pickens on the Steelers.
Yeah.
Like, come on, get rid of this guy. You get also a good receiver at a lower price in the draft, and get some O-line for him to help Allen out, because he's not helping.
Nope.
Let's talk about Dallas and your 49ers. Do you want to talk about the last play of the game to begin with, or what was that?
What did Dallas doing? Last year, their last play of the game was a head scratcher, and then it's like this year they're like, "Hold my beer, we're gonna top that."
Yeah.
What was that play? I don't even like. I tried to find somewhere today to maybe that explained what they were planning on doing.
Yeah.
You know, why are you having your running back Zeke play center? Why is he even trying to block a linebacker? He got trucked on that play. Why is Dak throwing the ball so high to receiver? Is he supposed to lateral it? Was he supposed to whatever? It was such a terrible play. And that's a head scratch with Mike McCarthy, man, to me.
Yeah.
I've always thought he was a decent coach, nothing great. You had Aaron Rodgers, he couldn't win much. And then he pulls off a season like this, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe he's a really good coach. But then he had head scratcher after head scratcher yesterday. And then he ended it off with that. What was that?
It was a horribly executed play, I think. Like, the ingenuity of it kind of makes sense. You want to get a player open in the middle of the field and set up some big linemen on the sideline to lead you down the way. But they executed it poorly. The ball took forever to get out of Dak's hands. I don't know what he had one receiver to look for. And it took him so long. It took him 8 steamboats to get the ball out of his hand. It's a clown show.
And you had no lineman to look over to throw it. Like, you why did you throw it so high?
Stupid.
But that's Dallas for you, man. They're just always thinking this is finally their year. They're going to take the next step. Like, Dak's hitting $50 million against the cap next year.
No, they got to get they can't do that.
You know, and that Dallas D was good yesterday. That Dallas D, for the most part, until that second half, shut down that Niners offense. And then Shanahan at some point just said, you know what, screw it. We're gonna pound them, and we're gonna pound them good. And that's what they did in that second half. And Dallas started withering. You know, that D line started, hanging back a little bit. Micah Parsons had a wicked first half, but was really non-existent in the second half.
Yeah.
You know, and that offense for Dallas, even Dak, you had plays, you just couldn't score. You throw 2 interceptions, 2 boneheaded interceptions as well. So it's classic Dallas, and the Niners, they grinded that game out. It wasn't anything impressive. D was impressive, but the O did what they had to do.
It's time to blow up the offense on Dallas, and it's time to go hire Sean Payton. That's what it's time to do in Dallas. Like, come on, you can't hang on to what just happened there.
No, and then you got a decision to make on Zeke, because his cap hits are pretty good for the next few years still.
What's the decision to make? I'd still rather take the guy with the broken leg going into next season than taking on Zeke. You get rid of that guy as fast as you can.
Yeah, it depends. However, you can get rid of him without taking less of a cap hit. I saw something today or just in the last hour where Zeke would take a pay cut to stick around. And if that helps, sure, keep him around. But you do need like a guy like Pollard, and it's unfortunate that he broke his leg.
Yeah.
Because he looked pretty good this year, and you need that guy. You can't let that guy go.
No, and Dak is not it.
No.
Like, if there's any way they can trade a whole bunch of stuff to either get Justin Fields or that first pick, you do it.
I don't even think they have enough. And the fact is, you also traded Amari Cooper this year, and you had Cooper out there last night. Maybe it helps him and CeeDee Lamb. But again, Dak had that one good drive for the touchdown.
Yeah.
And then he had a decent throw to Lamb, even though it was behind him, that Lamb had to come back and catch. That was it. Like, he had nothing else going on all game.
Get rid of him.
Yeah.
They have to.
But he has a $50 million cap hit. So probably not easy to get rid of that without taking some kind of dead money.
Let the Jets take it. The Jets will take it.
Jets going for Aaron Rodgers, probably.
Sure.
Let Zach Wilson sit for a couple of years behind Aaron Rodgers.
But yeah, I think the Cowboys have missed their window. That was it. With the core that they have right now. That's it. They've missed it.
They wanted the Niners. They wanted them. They were so pumped last week after beating Tampa and to get the Niners, and then they got what they hoped for, I guess.
They show up. Chiefs went at home against the Jags. Not very surprising. Jags. I think the Jags kind of got a stranglehold on the laughable AFC South for the next decade or so.
Yeah, unless somehow Tennessee can retool quickly. But then again with Tannehill has gone on a downward slide. You only had Derrick Henry. You got rid of freaking AJ Brown. So
They're screwed.
Yeah, I think the Jags will be kings of that division for a little bit.
Yeah, obviously the biggest story coming out of that game going to next is Patrick Mahomes with a high ankle sprain. Big problem. I guess we're going to talk about the AFC final soon, but that sucks.
Yeah, I mean he was hobbling around against the Jags, and it's the Jags didn't take advantage of that. The Kansas City D stepped up really well to give the Kansas City offense a chance to get in there. Chad Henne came in and led one drive 90 plus yards for a touchdown. So
yeah,
it's going to be tough. The Jags are actually adding Calvin Ridley next year too, because they had traded for him.
Oh, that's right, the gambler.
Yeah, the gambler who got suspended for a year.
Stupid NFL rules.
So that makes that offense pretty good actually going into next year.
Absolutely, it does. Good trade. I still don't believe in that Christian Kirk 20 million thing.
He had a pretty good year this year. Yeah, maybe not worth what they paid him, but he had a pretty good year considering what he did in Arizona. Really, he was okay in Arizona. Didn't stay healthy a lot either, but he came back pretty good. I was impressed.
Yeah, Arizona. Let's talk about the conference championships. A little bit of predictions. Start with the AFC.
I'm going Cincy over Kansas City, and not only because of the Mahomes possible injury or not playing. I think just Cincy's been better against Kansas City lately. They haven't lost them. Joe Burrow hasn't lost to Kansas City.
0-3. 0-3.
Yeah, that offense for Cincinnati looks pretty well rounded. They look good against the Bills. The D also looked pretty good against the Bills. I'm going to go with Cincinnati in the upset over in KC.
Yeah, sorry, I misspoke earlier about the Cincinnati O-line not letting a sack. They let one sack, 0 turnovers in that game with 3 backups on the Bengals O-line.
Yeah.
I also am going with the Bengals. I don't think it helps Mahomes' cause not being able to be mobile in the pocket against Cincinnati's defense, who's really rounding into form as they did last year going into the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl. If Mixon can run the ball for over 100 yards again, I think they got this game. I think it's over. That means you're keeping Mahomes on the sideline. That means his ankle is staying cold. He's not active. And they can't get in a rhythm and they can't get momentum going, which is always a huge thing with the Andy Reid offense. So I'm going to take, I've taken the Bengals at the beginning of the year, so I'm going to stick with the Bengals. The Steeler fan taking the Bengals, eh? Sick.
Your Bengals knocked out my Super Bowl pick, so I'm going to jump on your Super Bowl pick and go with the Bengals too.
Why not? They're looking good. Why not? I don't mind cheering for Houday.
And considering back to last year, they made the Super Bowl, but it's like, okay, are they good enough to make it back there or to compete again, right? And they started off a little shaky this year, and you're kind of thinking, okay, maybe a one-year wonder, but they pulled it all back together here, and look at them. They're back in the AFC Championship.
Absolutely. Before we move on to the NFC, let's move back to the AFC game with the Bills and the Bengals. It was crazy to see DeMar Hamlin in attendance at that game against the same team, Cincinnati, cheering on his team. That was crazy. The guy was like, his life was dependent on machines only a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and guys saving him on the field as well. So, good to see him back, and hopefully he's doing good. And maybe we'll see him back out there sometime, maybe next season or so. But good to see him back, at least in the stadium.
Yeah, that was awesome. Let's move on to the NFC final between your San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Ooh.
I'll let you pick first.
Okay. My questions will be, how will Purdy handle and the 49ers O-line handle the pass rush, the best pass rush in the NFL? And I don't think this game is about Purdy taking next steps to be a good quarterback. I think it's about more Shanahan taking next steps to be a good coach. Even in this last game, shout out to Benjamin Solak on Twitter for these great stats. 4th and 9, punt from the Dallas 38. 4th and 2, field goal from the Dallas 29. You have a dynamic offense as hell with 2 minutes left going into halftime, and you burn the clock at 6-6 going to a field goal. Shanahan cannot do that against the Eagles. And that's why I think it's more of, can Shanahan take that next step as a great coach? Because if he doesn't, the Eagles, I think, might actually pound them into the ground in Philadelphia.
Going back to those things, the one before the half is always the Shanahan thing. And if he can get the touchdown, he'll go for it. But he likes to kill the clock enough that he doesn't want to give it back to the other team. And Dallas's D was still pretty ferocious in that first half that I don't think they were going to get that touchdown anyways at that point. The other stuff, yes, the 4th and 9, the 4th and 2, especially, that kind of stuff drives me crazy. And it drove me crazy back even to the last NFC championship game last season, where they had a 4th and 2 against the Rams and they were almost going for it. And I was saying, if they got that, that would have killed the game. That would have stomped on, the Rams. McVay looked worried, but not going for it and then giving the ball back to the Rams, I think gave them life, gave the Rams life, and they came back and won it. So I do agree on that. They need to be more aggressive and go for that 4th and 2 kind of play, especially when it's in the other team zone. But it's hard when you got Robbie Gould, who's an accurate kicker and hasn't missed in the bowl season. You're like, okay, I can take these 3 points, especially in a defensive battle like that. But I think this one's going to be more offensive. And I think even though the Niners D is pretty good, I think that Eagles offense is going to still put up points. And Jalen Hurts, Niners seem to have problems with running quarterbacks over the last few seasons. So yeah, Jalen Hurts moving around, I think, is giving them an issue. And yeah, Brock Purdy, it's not necessarily the next step. He doesn't have to win this game on his own. He's got to get the ball into his playmakers' hands, and Shanahan's got to call a great game.
Yeah, you talk about like San Fran not facing quarterbacks who have run, and Hurts being like a legitimate run every play, a run threat every play. Yeah. So what do? Do you contain him in the pocket and make him pass the ball, or do you pass rush him? Because an interesting stat here, Hurts is 20th in passer rating at 65.2 and 28th in completion rate at 43.9 when pressured, compared to being the 4th highest QB rating with 113.4 and 5th best with completion at 73% with a clean pocket. So what do? Do you keep the pocket, keep him in there, or do you pass rush him and force him to make mistakes?
Funny thing is, Niners aren't really much of a send more than 4 guys anyways. They don't blitz or pass rush very often, more than 4. So if they can contain him with, the guys up front, then you may just go with that and see if you can keep him in the pocket and throw. But he's got 2 great receivers in AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. So, and Dallas Goedert, right? So he can make you pay in those ways. And the Niners DBs, Charvarius Ward is pretty good. Lennar is hit and miss depending on how he is for that game. But it's hard. Yeah, if you have to bring an extra blitzer every once in a while to throw Hurts off, I guess you're gonna have to do it. But that's when Hurts can get out of the pocket, though. Yeah, and then make you pay because you don't have that guy back there watching anymore, right?
Yeah, I think it's a situation where Bosa has to have the game of his life here.
Yeah.
When you see Lawrence Taylor play in the playoffs, when you see Reggie White playing the playoffs for the Green Bay, where he took the team on his back, it has to be one of those situations.
Yeah. Yeah, and Bosa, no sacks this past Sunday, but he had 5 QB pressures. Yeah. And so the same with the whole D line. Not a lot of sacks, but they had a lot of pressures, and they got Dak moving and Dak worried. You're gonna have to do the same thing for 2 Hurts with those 4 guys, and keep the rest of the D back there, dropping back, and Warner, roaming that field, looking where to go.
Yeah. So with all of those factors, I'll just say who I'm taking the game first because you have more on this game than I am. I will be taking the Philadelphia Eagles, especially because it's at the Link. I think San Francisco has to play a perfect game And I don't think they can do that with Purdy. And I think Shanahan might crack again under the pressure. So I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles to win the NFC Championship.
All right. I hear that. I'm going to pick the Niners just because they are my Niners. I'm not going to go against them in this. But obviously, I'm not going into this thinking the Niners are going to blow the Eagles out or anything like that. It'll be a tough game. Purdy on the road, that's a big test, especially in that field. That crowd is going to be crazy, especially if they get that one turnover even. Yeah. That'll even send them even more into a frenzy. So it's going to have to be a great game by Shannon. I agree with that. Brock Purdy's going to have to just limit or no mistakes, take the plays that he can and throw the ball away when it's not there. And he's going to need his guys, CMC, Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, to just ball out, and that O-line give him time.
Yeah, D'Amico Ryans also has to have a huge game planning, and oh my goodness,
he just did it in Dallas, and he shut down that Dallas offense that had looked pretty good this year at times. Yeah. Yes, they look bad at times as well, but I mean, this offense for the Eagles is pretty high powered. So if you can shut that down, D'Amico, someone's hiring him for sure right after that.
I can't wait.
Should be a good game, though.
Absolutely. Friends, don't forget to put your comments on there. We want to hear what your AFC and NFC championship predictions are. Whew. Playoffs and Winnipeg Jets. That's exciting.
Yeah, good time right now.
Benny, do you have anything to say to our friends?
Yeah, I'm going to give out a Brickhead first.
That's right.
Yes,
and shout out.
Yeah, it's going to go back a little bit. We already talked about them, but there's no other team, person, whatever, that's more deservable than the Vancouver Canucks, Jim Rutherford, the whole front office, the owners. It's a collaborative Brickhead for me, and they're getting my Brickhead of the week.
So well deserved.
Oh God,
Canuck fans have got to be sick to their stomach.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. It's been a mess for years, and then when you think it's finally turning a corner, it goes right back to it.
Looks so optimistic at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And then they sat there and did nothing.
Nope.
Shout outs. I'm going to give a shout out to Scott Arneal specifically for putting his stamp on the Winnipeg penalty killing unit. We give shout outs and we give grades to Rick Bowness every week and the defensive play and the offensive play. But I want to give a special shout out to Scott Arneal, whose main goal, or one of his main goals coming to Winnipeg, was to really improve that PK. Last year, they ended up in 28th, and they're sitting currently at 2nd. So shout out to Scott Arneal.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome. That's quite the flip.
Yeah.
That PK was never good on their Maurice at all.
No. or Claude Noel.
Or Claude Noel. Oh, God, I always forget about him.
Special teams have been, he's forgettable. Special teams have been forgettable for the Jets for a long time. You got a shout out?
You know what? I'm going to shout out Connor Hellebuck for making the NHL All-Star game again, getting voted in by the fans this time, but well deserved to him. He deserved to be there anyways.
We're so lucky to have him.
Yes. Yes. Can you imagine?
No, I don't want to imagine.
Oof, God.
You got anything to say to our friends?
You know what? Just thanks a lot for listening again. Don't forget, subscribe, follow us, check us out, leave some comments, let us know what you think. Have a good week.
And again, to steal the famous words of Ed Whalen, in the meantime and in between time, that's it. Another edition of Ray and Benny Talk Sports. Cut. If you could either choose between Taves and Patrick Kane, who would you take?
Well, Patrick Kane.
Just check, really?
Would they cost the same?
Would you, yes. If all things were equal, you'd take the pure skill over the hometown story and leadership.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Especially with the Jets not having anyone with a C on their jersey.
Yeah, I think Patrick Kane just adding that kind of offense, maybe even throwing him in with the Oilers or something like that would be so dynamic. It'd be fantastic, man. And Patrick Kane's won too, right? It wasn't just Taves. Kane was there too for all those championships, and he was a big part of them. So
yeah, but hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell us what you think.